Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Boy, oh boy, I've been racking my brain here, trying to think. It's game day, right? I've never had a game day feel less like a game day outside of the off season. Trying to sit here and think, like, what is it we want to get out of this game other than get out healthy? Win would be nice, but even that is sort of, and this is where I think a lot of Packer fans are, the we must win this at all cost Packer fans are, in a very different mindset of this is a very important game because it's a divisional game. It's the Vikings. We need to. But no. You can think it and you can want it to be a thing and you can wish it was a thing, but the whole like we really want to win this, we're going to try. Very obviously not. That's not a thing. They're going to try to win with the pieces that they have. It's just like in the preseason when they, it's not like they're deliberately trying not to win. There's a difference between not trying to win and trying not to win. It's subtle, but there's a difference. It's about priority. Health, safety, rest becomes top priority. Once that's satisfied, the next top priority is win. So on game day, when they show up with the pieces that they have, and they have been spending all week working on a game plan, although I'm willing to bet they stole some time away to work on a game plan for the Bears. But let's assume that they spent the entire time working on the Vikings. They worked on a game plan to try to win. They didn't work on a game plan to try to lose. So it is kind of a thing. But at the same time, I can't even go into this with any real enthusiasm. And it's not, I don't even mean that in a bad way, like, oh, it sucks. It doesn't really suck. It's just kind of a question of, it doesn't matter to me if we win. It just doesn't. It doesn't mean anything to our, other than some weird pride thing. Well, it's the Vikings and this is the North and this is bro, we didn't win the North. We're going to the playoff. If we lose, it's not because we're worse, it's because we didn't play our starters. So there's nothing really there from a pride standpoint. Basically, the season's over and this game is a formality. This is like the Pro Bowl. It's just kind of a thing that you got to do. Nobody wants to watch it, but it's just kind of there. The NFL says we have to do it, so we have to do it. But from my perspective, it's tough to try to think of. It doesn't even make sense to have like a positivity Sunday thing. Oh, yeah, we're going to get it. We're going to kill. Why? For what? What, with Clayton Tune? So honestly, like I legitimately feel like this to me, and unfortunately, it can't even talk about we can't have nice things. It can't even really be that. But to me, this is very much a preseason game in that there are certain people I'd like to see get some opportunities and see if we can work with them and get them to grow and whatnot. Unfortunately, we're seeing some pretty unfortunate things. For example, Savion Williams was placed on IR. Boy, it would have been nice to get Savion in there and work with him and see what he can do in this opportunity to get some more snaps and do some more stuff, especially with additional injuries. We got Wicks is hurt, so you can give him even more opportunities than you would have otherwise, because I'm sure Wicks would have been playing. We're not going to sit him. But no, we can't even have that because of the freaking injury thing, which may I harken back real quick to the part about where guys will get hurt. That happens all the time. We got another guy going to IR. So this isn't just about being overcautious. Lots of people get hurt far too often, all the time. That's why we're sitting people, so that we don't have more Savions and Donovan Jennings, who did he play 4 snaps? What did Donovan Jennings even do? Donovan Jennings played 6 snaps for us in week 17. He is being placed on IR. So again, how much do you want Jordan to play? Because Donovan Jennings made it 6 snaps before he got put on IR. No, I'm not risking a doggone thing, all right? Nothing. But I mean, that kind of is my question for today is what do we even want to get out of this? Yes, a win. Okay, great. A win. Sure. Eye roll. Again, if a win was a priority, we'd be starting our starters. Jordan Love would be playing. A win is not the priority. So what is the priority? That's my question. Don't get hurt. Okay, that's number 2. Bundle up. The guys on the bench, dress warm so you don't catch cold. We got playoffs next week. Maybe that could be 3. But at the end of the day, we can't bench everybody. Some guys, because there are only so many, certain... there aren't enough spots available on a roster to bench all your starters and still be able to field a football team. And again, I don't know what the game day roster is going to look like, but there are going to have to be some guys that you'd probably rather not risk that are going to have to play, and probably quite a few of them. But even as I think about that, it's like, well, what I want to see from those guys is heart, and I want to see dedication, and I want to see... Bro, if they're out there making business decisions, am I going to be mad about it? The answer is no. I'm sorry, and I know some people aren't going to agree with me. I don't care. I want somebody to put their body on the line for this game. No, I don't. I don't want that at all. I want you to do that in the playoff. In this game, no, you make that business. I'm going to. I'm telling, as the head coach, I'm telling you to make those business decisions. Protect yourself. You're all quarterbacks in this game. Protect yourself. Get down. Get out of bounds. Right? This is a light day. This is let's practice our fundamentals. Let's practice our technique. It doesn't, by the way, necessarily mean play poorly. Last week we saw people being sloppy when it comes to like throwing your body around. Okay, I need much less of that and more like let's slow down. Let's use proper tackling technique. So, I mean, there's a difference between business decisions and phoning it in. I don't need you sleeping on the field. I don't need you committing penalties and everything else. This is an opportunity to get sharp, but it's also I need you to be smart. And as far as like, well, how does that look and how does that, I don't give a damn. I mean, maybe it's a thing, but I have to assume we overblow this thing where it's like, if you don't stay locked in, if you're not like 100% going out to kill your body, then the week after, you're also going to not care. I mean, again, I hate to keep bringing back everything to fight camp type stuff, but, you look at these fighters, these UFC guys, what do you think they're doing in the month leading up? Do you think they're going all out and like in these blood sport? No, they calm down. They gear down because they got a fight coming up. You start calming down like a month out. When you're 2 weeks out from a fight, all that hard sparring stuff, it's done. You're not doing it anymore. You're not going to risk a concussion or a broken rib just because you got to stay locked in. So how do these guys go 2 weeks to a month of not engaging in hard physical contact and then get in a cage and bludgeon somebody else and win a fight? Why is it they don't get in there and start looking lazy and bad and all this stuff? That doesn't make... Why is it just the NFL where that's a thing? That if you're not locked in, if you're not leading with the crown of your frickin' head trying to kill people, if you're not out there breaking your bones in your body, then suddenly you can't play football anymore. You're mentally checked out. Is that how you operate? Like if you stop doing something for a week, like you're done, you can't do it anymore? That's crazy, especially if you're like practicing the whole time. I'm not talking about going to Jamaica. I'm just talking about toning down the intensity a little bit, but you're still locked in 100% mentally and physically going through the rhythm of it, which again is why I said in this game, take down the intensity, work on the technique. I want to see less DBs out there flying around the field, as in like literally leaving the ground and trying to spear people, and focus more on... and I want to see that anyway, but I'm saying even if you have to slow down, even if you have to just calm down, get your bearings, square up, maybe wait for him to come to you, which I hate, waiting for him to come to you. In this game, fine, let him come to you, square up, wrap up, drive through, form tackle. Let's slow down and focus on proper technique. This is like a practice. This is like a preseason. Now, the fans aren't going to want it. And if they see laziness, as they would call it, or if they see whatever, man, it's going to be the end of the world. But let me put it this way. If I was the coach, this is how I would play it. This would be what I would pitch to everybody in the team, and I don't think it's incorrect. It's not just lip service. We have a very big playoff game coming up. We're going to ramp up the intensity insofar as we're talking about things like, mental preparation, really fine-tuning the basics. The physical side of things is going to be ramped down. Not just because we're afraid of injury, but because the wear and tear on everybody's bodies is a bad thing. Furthermore, I would tell everybody that this notion that taking time off is going to cause you to somehow be a terrible football player and all these things, and by time off, I mean a week, and I mean, still practicing, is a bunch of garbage. And the only reason that has any effect on anyone ever is because people allow it to. I'm sure if you tell an MMA fighter that if you don't go hard, that if you take time off, that if you're not going full bore, crazy, cardio and hardcore diet and all this kind of stuff, if you're not doing that prior to your fight, then you're going to be mentally, shortchanged. You're going to be behind. You're going to be worse. That's probably going to drain on them. How about this? We don't buy it. We don't believe it. It's stupid. It's nonsense. You're fine. You know how to play football. You're perfectly mentally prepared, right? You physically didn't forget how to play? Great. Because outside of superstitious nonsense, I can't for a second figure out why that would massively impact you to such a degree. It also can't be an excuse to come out flat, which is why, again, part of this, even though our starters are not playing, part of this, though, is we're working on fundamentals, including the starters when we're talking about practice. Because everything else, playing fast, playing all that stuff, that's secondary if you're playing sloppy. Right? You can run around like a crazy person if you're committing penalties every second. What does it matter? It reminds me of that whole explosive play conversation where it's like, well, explosives have this high correlation to success, so you need to be explosive all the time. No. Really talented teams are explosive. That doesn't mean if you are a team lacking in talent that you can just go hunting for explosives and that's a good thing. That actually is a bad thing because now you're just launching the ball down the field and there's a bunch of incompletions and you suck. It's the same with playing fast. Yes, ideally you should be playing fast, but the people that play fast successfully are people that mentally are so locked in that the game has slowed down for them that they can play at a fast pace and at a high level. But if you don't know what the hell you're doing and you just go running around, you just look like an idiot and you suck and you need to slow down. Playing fast for the sake of playing fast is not good advice. I don't need you to be fast. I need you to be better. I need you to slow down. And when you can execute at a high level when it's slow, then start speeding up. But right now, and this pertains to what we've been watching, we're getting to the point where we're seeing guys throw their bodies around like crazy as they miss tackles. Because they're so focused on speed. They're so focused on, I got to go fast. I got to fly around the field. And they're literally doing that. They're literally flying like they're 6 years old and they think that they're Superman. Could put a cape on Carrington Valentine as he zooms past people. He's not using technique that's taught in Pee-wee football, but he's flying around as he's being told to fly around. That's because just because something is good when it's at its peak doesn't mean that you just tell everybody to do what people do at their peak. Does that make sense? It's like we know passing is more beneficial than running. We know that. From a value standpoint, it's more valuable. So why don't we just pass all the time? Doesn't that make sense? If a pass is more valuable than a run, why don't you just pass? Because if you just pass, the value of those passes goes down because you're not running. We need fundamentals. We need technique. We need to slow down and get back to basics, especially with all the injuries. We got a bunch of backups and everything coming in. Good. Slow down. Slow down. Work on sucking less as opposed to getting better. Because if you want to get better, you go to that next level. We can't handle the next level. We can't even handle this level. We need to go back a level. But we need to be so good at that basic level. So the point is, what do we need to do? Not just in this game, but this week. In my opinion, what we need to do is focus on fundamentals. We are the underdogs. We are no longer, with all the injuries, the most talented team in the NFL. So if we're not going to be the better team, we at least need to be the most disciplined team, because more often than not, the most disciplined team will win, even if they're not better. Be the team that doesn't make the mistake. Be the team that doesn't get the penalty. Be the team that doesn't miss the tackle. I'd rather you be slower to the tackle and make it than be fast to the tackle and miss it. That kind of should go without saying. All right, let's take our first break. We'll be right back. So, Packers have done a ton recently. Very unusual situation here. Lots and lots of roster movement. We've already talked about quite a few of it, but Tom Silverstein says on social media, by my calculation, the Packers have made 16 moves with their 15-man roster and 6 with the practice squad since December 26th, including placing 8 on IR, which is absolutely devastating. I want to go through this list. Number 1, because it's interesting. Number 2, because I'm sure at some point I missed part of this. I mean, obviously, we just talked about Bohanna and Donovan, or Savion and Donovan Jennings going to IR. But all right. December 26th, they placed linebacker Christian Welch on IR. December 30th, they claimed defensive tackle Jonathan Ford off waivers from the Chicago Bears. They signed cornerback Shamar Bartholomew and Jalen Simpson from the practice squad to the active roster. They placed cornerback Kamal Haddon and defensive tackle Jordan Riley on IR, and they released defensive tackle Quinton Bohanna. That, in and of itself, that's a massive day. Then, the very next day, December 31st, placed safety Zane Anderson and cornerback Nate Hobbs on injured reserve. Good Lord. Signed safety Jonathan Baldwin and quarterback Clayton Tune from the practice squad to the active roster. Then, the very next day, January 1st, claimed cornerback Trayvon Diggs off of waivers from the Dallas Cowboys. 2 days later, on January 3rd, today for me, they signed receiver Jacoby Keeney James and guard/center Lecitus Smith from the practice squad to the active roster. Then placed guard tackle Donovan Jennings and receiver Savion Williams on injured reserve. In addition to that, the 6 moves the Packers have made to the practice squad since December 30th. On December 30th, they signed running back Damian Martinez. The next day, December 31st, they signed guard Carson Barnhart, cornerback Tyron Herring, and quarterback Desmond Ridder. And then the next day, on January 1st, they signed safety Mark Perry, placed tight end McCallan Castles on practice squad injured. We even got an IR going here for our, he missed the kick, for our practice squad. That's great. So with that, I want to go through and look at what we actually have for a roster. And I want to start from the back end and move forward. Reason being, we can basically stop when we get to enough people to field a team, and that'll give us an idea of who at least needs to start. So for example, if we start at wide receiver, we're in pretty dire straits here. So again, you can look at it and say, well, they're not going to do Watson, Dobbs, and Reed. Okay, do you know what that leaves us with? That would leave us with Golden, Bo Melton, and Keeney James. The old Keeney James. Pretty sure that's not what they're rolling out. And so the question then becomes, who do you add? And then on the other side of that, do you withhold anybody? Now, I want to be clear about something. There is an official list of inactives. There's only a handful of inactives that you can have. I think 7. I'm not really interested in the official inactives as much as I'm interested in who is not going to play. You can have a player active and not play. There's also my least favorite thing in the world, which is entirely likely that we're going to see, which is guys playing but being limited in how much they play. And there's probably going to be quite a bit of that. The reason for that, I would assume, is just based on we have to figure out how to field a team and also limit things at the same time. And unfortunately, some of that is going to come down to limiting snaps as opposed to shutting people down. But right away, when you look at wide receiver, you already get into that situation. So, okay, Bo plays. Keeney James plays. Presumably Golden plays. Just flat out plays. There's still a question of Dobbs, Reed, and Watson. It's kind of like the start, sit, cut thing. The only real reservation I have is, are the Packers going to actually prioritize their players? Are they going to sit Christian Watson and say he's better than the rest of you and the rest of you have to go play? Maybe they can do it under some silly pretense of, well, he's a little banged up or something, you know what I mean? But you do that across the entire roster, and I think everyone's going to catch on. All your favorite players are a little banged up while everybody else has to fight through their stuff. I don't think that works. My honest initial thought was that Watson and Reed will not play. I think the issues that I have with that would be, number one, I don't know if that's enough receivers. Number two, again, are we going to flat out tell Dobbs that you're not on that list with everybody else? And number three, I don't know if I believe that the team believes that. I believe that, but I don't know if the team believes that. I don't think Jordan believes that. That's, as far as I can tell, Jordan's favorite receiver. So, bottom line is, I really don't know. We've got 3 guys that are going to play, and then we've got 3 guys that, I don't know, maybe they all go and they just try to limit snaps. I think it's entirely possible that none of them are on the inactive list, but all of them are going to be severely on a pitch count. Then you look at the offensive line. I think Zach Tom is, well, he's injured, so regardless of his status, he's sitting. And if you want to use that pretense, fine. I don't care, but he does not play, period. He would be one of my official inactives because I wouldn't even tempt it. If we don't have enough players, then tough. Put a tight end out there, a right tackle. I don't give a crap. I don't know about Walker, Banks, Sean Ryan, and Anthony Belton. Considering we need to field a team, I would assume that Morgan and Belton will play. I'm also going to assume that Sean Ryan will play. I don't know about Rashid and Banks. Now, potentially you could have these guys play, suit up as backups, but again, that's not really my question. Who is going to be the starting 5 would be more so my question. Now, I'm obviously not a huge Banks fan, but when I look at the team and what I think they're going to do, I think that they have a guy that they view as a supremely talented left guard that is worth a ton of money. And from that perspective, I would have to assume their desire would be to shut him down. But if you also did that with Rashid, what would we have? We could have, let's see, Morgan at left tackle. So we got Morgan and Belton, and then we have what? Kennard, Monk, Lecitus Smith. Oh, and Sean Ryan, I said, could start. That would leave you with 1 backup, presumably, meaning somebody else, again, that is not starting would have to presumably be a backup. But again, I don't know. This is part of why I've been wanting to know, who gets shut down and all this kind of stuff, because I don't know if this is just a shut down Jordan game and everybody else plays. If this is a, shut down Jordan and, I don't know, who would even be like the number 2 here? I honestly don't even know. You can't say Rashawn anymore. McKinney or something. I don't know. I don't know how much of a shutdown this is for our starters. Again, my preference, as much as is humanly possible. Otherwise, what's the point? Running back, obviously, you'd want to shut down Jacobs. But doesn't look like they've done anything for running back, so all we have left are Wilson and Brooks. So they're going to have to play. Now, again, my preference would be Brooks gets a massive workload while Emmanuel Wilson is much lower down the priority list. At tight end, we're rocking 3. We have, and by the way, there were a couple more things on the article that I didn't mention, but I guess we'll talk about it now. Musgrave and Wiley were our only two tight ends. We elevated Drake Dabney, the tight end, to the tight end position. Actually, that's in this article, but he doesn't put it in his official list of 16 plus 6 moves, so I don't really know why. But so we have 3 tight ends. I personally think it's important to protect Musgrave. I don't know that the Packers necessarily feel that way. And that there's also a question of utility outside of, just how much do you like a guy, or how early were they drafted, or whatever metric like that you want to use. And what I mean by that is, Musgrave is a certain style of tight end, just like Wiley is a certain style of tight end. And losing a Wiley is just as devastating as losing a Musgrave if you don't have somebody to fill in that role. Essentially, in other words, they're 2 different positions. And so they're equally as valuable, and you can't sit one and not the other, because we need both just as much as each other, I guess. Essentially, again, I would think that this is going to be a limit as much as possible, but I would imagine all of them would suit up for sure, play. We'll see what the snap counts look like. And then quarterback, there was no elevation of Desmond Ridder, who they signed. And so we have 3 quarterbacks on the roster right now, and it is Jordan Love, Malik Willis, and Clayton Tune. Jordan, I'm guessing, under no circumstance will play in this game. Meaning you have Clayton Tune, and I would guess with the backup being Malik Willis. Again, if they want to get psychotic about it, it could be Clayton Tune, and then you run out. I can't even say Savion Williams anymore, who used to play quarterback, or Josh Jacobs for that matter, who Matt LaFleur had pointed to. I don't know. Bo Melton can be our quarterback. Then on the defensive side of things, this is an opportunity to get a little closer look at Warren Brinson, the rookie. Jonathan Ford, who we brought in, the big defensive tackle out of Chicago, will play. I would assume Nazir Stackhouse will play. And then, again, as far as Brooks and Wooden go, I would think you need more than 3. I can't imagine you pick one over the other, so it's probably going to be you guys stay on the sideline, and ideally we never need you. With that said, Stackhouse and Ford combined are like a metric ton. So they're going to need breathers. So I think Brooks and Wooden are going to have to play a little bit. But again, I think it's just moving the guys from the back of the roster to the front of the roster, guys from the front of the roster to the back of the roster, at least in this regard. Off the edge, I think you probably do shut down Gary and Van Ness. I think you've got more than enough bodies here. You've got Brenton Cox. You've got Aaron Mosby. You've got Colin Oliver. You got Baron Sorrell. I don't know the order of things. I would guess Enigbare is also questionable. I would guess if they're going to shut 2 people down, it's going to be Gary and Van Ness. I know a lot of people would disagree. How could you say that? Enigbare is getting more snaps and all blah, 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 blah. I'm just telling you what I think. I don't know. I'm not giving you my opinion on anything. I'm just telling you if I had to guess what the team was thinking, Gary and Van Ness would be shut down. Enigbare, they would prefer not to play, but I don't know that it would be officially shut down. And maybe it wouldn't matter if they're okay just riding Sorrell, Cox, Mosby, and Oliver. But I don't know if they would be. Linebacker, obviously Quay and Cooper would be the 2 guys that they'd be interested in protecting. Again, I think they have more than enough bodies to do that. They elevated Jamon Johnson from the practice squad, so he'll be available to play as well as Hopper and McDuffie. I don't know if it's going to be maybe Hopper, McDuffie as the starters with Johnson as the backup. I don't know if it's going to be, maybe they want to protect McDuffie and it's Hopper Johnson. I don't know. Maybe Quay and Cooper play a little. Again, these are the questions. But I think what kind of would make sense is you shut down your top 2 guys in Quay and Cooper. You let your next two guys go, and McDuffie and Hopper, and Johnson is there as a third linebacker / backup, with your actual backups being Quay and or Cooper if things really start to go south. Corner is the one actual cool situation because we have Trayvon Diggs. So, it's one of those actual preseason things where it's like, oh, I can't wait to see this guy. Kind of like with Matthew Golden, where you're just hoping that things, although I don't have super high expectations because it's, Clayton Tune and a really good defense and everything. But I'm excited to see, for example, Colin Oliver. Don't really have high expectations because he's hardly played at all. He's a very undersized guy. He's sort of a linebacker / pass rusher hybrid, so it's hard to imagine he just comes in there and is a beast, having not played NFL football ever. But still excited to see if there's anything there. But Trayvon Diggs is probably the coolest one, because that's the one where your imagination can run wild and it what if kind of thing can take over, and it's also something that could be a reality because number one, he's got NFL experience, so it's not like Colin Oliver where it's like he's never played before. He's got plenty of experience. He's had success in the past, and he's going up against a quarterback that has certainly made his fair share of mistakes and throws high-risk passes and whatnot. So the potential for him to come in and be like, dang, that's crazy, it's so cool, it's actually, there. Outside of that, I don't know because, similar to wide receiver, I wouldn't imagine they're going to shut down Nixon, Valentine, and Bullard. But they may. Could we see Shamar Bartholomew, Trayvon Diggs, and Jalen Simpson playing football, at least, again, with the starting snaps, with obviously Bullard would still have to be suited up and out there and, available. There's also, hilariously, Bo Melton, who I already listed at wide receiver, but I couldn't tell you what position the guy plays today. He's probably going to be the most valuable player on the team because he can play two different positions, offense, defense. He can he can fill in wherever you need him. I already volunteered him for quarterback, so whatever we need, watch out for Bo Melton. But at corner, there's just not enough depth. We basically have enough for starters and backups. We have 3 1s and 3 2s, and so would any of these guys be your inactives? I wouldn't think so. And if so, who? Which one do you pick? Do you shut down Bullard? Is Nixon your guy? Again, there's kind of 2 questions here. What would you do, as well as what do you think the team would do? Where do you think they're at? Usually 2 very different things. And then finally at safety, another guy that I would actually be excited to see, and we'll see how it goes, but Oladapo would be phenomenal. I think there's a good chance. There's a good chance that you could see Oladapo and Jonathan Baldwin as our starting safeties. But again, I don't believe, I'm really struggling to keep track of everything here, but I don't believe we have any other safeties, meaning you're probably going to see McKinney and Williams suit up. But, again, this whole conversation might end up being stupid where it looks like our starting team for the most part minus Jordan Love, which I wouldn't understand that. But, I don't know. I don't know what this looks like. This is, as many people are pointing out, very unprecedented. A lot of people who've been covering the team for a lot longer than I've been doing this podcast are saying they've never seen anything like this. It's funny watching people try to keep track of how many moves have been made. Again, even in this article here, it's Dabney's listed several times in the practice squad elevation, and then not listed below in the 16 moves Packers have made or the 6 moves made to practice squad, unless that's a different category. I don't know, but that's the point, right? It's a very weird and confusing thing. And it's a weird and confusing day. I came into this, I was like, how do we get the troops motivated for this game? And I part of me thought it was first of all difficult to do, but then the second thought was stupid to do, and then the third thought was unnecessary to do. It's not looking at the right thing. That's not what we're doing today. We're not really getting the troops motivated to go out and dominate the Vikings. If you want to do that, you can. Oh boy, that was a crazy play. Um, that's not the goal. But then again, it's like, so what is the goal? What are we doing today? What is the plan here? And unfortunately, I do think a lot of fans, Packer fans, are going to look at this game as, no, this is a game, and this is a divisional game, and I expect you to go out and win. And we're probably not going to. I just saw we're 8.5-point underdogs, which is crazy. We're probably going to lose, and handily. I can't remember the last time I've seen the Packers as 8.5-point underdogs. And then I'm going to have to listen to for a week how this team looks terrible and they're unprepared and everybody should be fired and that we shouldn't even be a playoff team and all this stuff. When in reality, this game, it's just, whatever your opinion is this second should be your opinion on Monday. And if your opinion has changed about this team for any reason, yeah, but they didn't look motivated. Yeah, but I don't care. I don't care. I really don't. I care about what happens in that playoff game. And how I don't believe that if our fourth string, if, Baron Sorrell looks sluggish, that means we're going to play poorly in a playoff game against whoever. Sorry, I don't buy it. And furthermore, on that point, if you genuinely believe that's let me ask you this: would you accept that as an excuse? You're accepting it beforehand as an inevitability, but would you accept it as an excuse if somebody came and told you that? Like if you were the coach of the team, you're the coach of the Packers, right? And some guy goes out there and he misses a tackle, and he comes to the sideline and he's like, "Well, what do you expect? We didn't play last week." Would you just say, "Oh, actually, that's a good point"? Of course you wouldn't say that's a good point, because it's not a good point. It's a stupid point. And F you for even saying that. So why are we accepting it as an excuse before the fact? It's not an excuse, and it's not a reason, and it's not good enough. All right, before we take our final break here, I think on the other side of the break, we'll take a few calls and see where everybody's at. The final thing to mention is I've been talking about the Bears kind of having this, we're going to face the Bears, because I think that's what's probably going to happen. It isn't actually locked in, and I don't want you to think that that's what I'm saying. If the Lions beat the Bears and the Eagles beat Washington, then the Eagles will overtake the Bears as the number 2 seed. So we are either playing the Eagles in Philly or playing Chicago in Chicago. And then how the rest of this plays out, I'm not entirely sure, because I'm not quite at the end of this game here. It's looking like Seattle's going to win. If that happens, I'll assume the Rams are going to beat Arizona, even if they sit their starters. I'll just friggin' assume that. That would put Seattle number 1 seed. Packers go to Philly. San Francisco goes to Chicago. San Francisco just beat Chicago, for the record. And then LA would go to Tampa, where presumably LA would win that game, but obviously you don't know. If the Rams sit their starters and lose to Arizona, then it would be LA going to Chicago. I don't know what the best case scenario here is. I know a lot of people are like, I want to rematch with the Bears. Look, obviously the best case scenario is we play the Bears, we beat the Bears, we knock them out of the playoffs, and we move on. Right? That's the full bravado move. That's if I was that guy, that's what I'd say. But the worst possible scenario is playing the Bears and losing to the Bears, and I don't know how good I feel about us going to Chicago. If we're not going to go to Chicago, maybe the way to say it is the safest path would be us to play Philly. That way, if we win or lose, we don't have to, somebody presumably better than us is going to be playing the Bears in Chicago, and that is good. Because I want the best possible team to go up against the Bears. So I guess regardless of, make up your own mind and feel free to let me know how you feel. But my perspective probably is to be a coward and say that I'm going to root for the Eagles to win and for the Bears to lose. Now, if the case could be made that the Eagles are significantly better than the Bears, then give me the Bears. I mean, it's more important that we have a chance to win than the whole Bears situation. But I don't know that that's necessarily true at this point. But we will know more information, and that will all be figured out by tomorrow. So, actually, I'll tell you what. I think we're going to call it for today. We're already running late enough. We don't need another segment here. So, I am going to leave you all with that. By the way, very important. Me and the boy, my son, we're going to be doing a live stream on Patreon. I said we were going to do it. We're going to do it. I'll send out links on social media, be it on X or Facebook. If you're in the Packing It Podcast Facebook group, stay tuned. If you're following me on X, stay tuned. If you're not, please do so. And then the easiest possible thing you can do to make sure you're prepared is go get signed up over on patreon.com/pack_daddy. And again, signing up is just $1 a month. Him and I have been working on something that I am extremely excited about, and it's just about ready to show you all. But that'll also be taking place on Patreon. So please do me as well as yourself a favor and get signed up as soon as possible. Have a good night. Bye-bye.